everyone, welcome back to my channel, sharoncullenart. After my last two videos on watercolor paper last week, I've had several people ask me about how I cut my paper on these bee paper rolls. Because since everyone has found out now that bee paper is closed, these rolls are basically all you can get anymore. Well, I did a full video and I didn't like the way it came out, so I'm going to try it again today. But I was able to cut 24 pieces of 6x9 sheets with deckled edges. Now today I'm just going to show you probably some bigger sheets. I don't know. I haven't really decided what size I want to cut. Maybe I'll do some more 6x9s. I might do that, and that way I've got 48 pieces, because right now I have 24. If you do a 36x36 sheet of paper and cut it up, you'll get 24 of these. Now with 5 yards, you can do that 5 times if you want to do all 6x9 sheets. So today I'm going to show you, I wish I could do this on a table, but my table just isn't deep enough. This being 36 inches long, I don't have a 36-inch deep table. I used to use a banquet table for everything, and in my old studio, and I loved my banquet table, but I wanted to be able to work in a corner with the windows and have more space in my studio. So with the extra furniture that I now have, it just wasn't feasible unless I do classes, and then I would just set it up in the middle. But I'm going to go ahead and have to cut this on the floor, but I'm going to show you how I do it. It can be a little cumbersome when your paper rolls, but just bear with me and I will show you how it's done. Now, what I use for cutting is not scissors. I just use a yardstick or T-square. I prefer a T-square or square rule. This is a T-square. This one, though, is only 46 centimeters or 18 inches long, and my paper is 36. So to use this, I'm not real fond of using this, and I'm not sure how well the edge will cut. Having a tapered edge with a sharp edge on the inside of a metal ruler or square would be the best. These Westcotts are terrific, and I'd love to get one that's 36 inches, but I don't really have a use for one that often, so 18 inches is what I have. You could also use something like this, a triangle, so that you can use the top portion along your paper edge to make sure you're on a straight line, and then run down and cut your paper. But my favorite is this square rule. And the square rule, of course, has a 90-degree angle, so I use this across the top edge of my paper so that I know that I'm cutting a straight line. All I need are my measurements going across. I line this up, and I don't have to worry about measuring both ends of my paper that way. The only problem with this is it's getting old and rusty, so I always clean it off with Windex before I start so that I don't get rust on my paper. But another thing that I do is I cut from the back side of the paper so that when I put my little ruler marks on the paper in pencil, they're not going to show on the front at all, as well as I like the deckled edge better when I cut from the back. And so anyway, I'll show you how I do it. So let's get started. Okay, now I've got you set up at the floor so you can see what I'm doing. The first thing I need to do is make a 36-inch cut, which is the cut that I want, because I can get things in a divisible in a 9x6 sheet. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut 36 inches off of my paper before I set it out. So let me go ahead and roll out my paper here. And I will cut my 36-inch sheet. I left my ruler. I've grabbed several books here too, so that I can use them as weights on my paper. I'm just going to take my shoes off here. And I will go ahead and roll this out. Now again, like I said, the tooth of the paper is on the outside, so I'm rolling it out with the inside of the paper out. I'm doing it on a rug because I really don't want to get my paper dirty, and the floor is not clean right now. So I'm just going to put this out like this, just to hold my paper down. Measure out 36 inches across my paper. So this is an 18-inch ruler. I don't like these rulers that don't come right to the edge, your 1-inch mark. It's like 1/8 of an inch off or just under. So if you measure from both sides, you're 1/4 inch off by the time you get through, which is a drag. I just put a little dot there so that I can find my spot at 36 inches. Okay. So there's my 36-inch mark. I'm going to take a couple more books to hold my paper open while I get ready. My T-square will hold my paper open as well, but I just want to get this ready. And when you're cutting your paper, you'll want this portion of the T facing your roll. Otherwise, I end up with tears more easily if I do that. Now that this is down, I don't have to worry about this anymore. I line it up all the way straight across against my mark there, and then I can go ahead and cut. So let me just start it with a scissor, get my line. Now I'm going to take the weight off of my paper, and I'm going to start tearing. I like to tear from the other angle with my back to you, but I'm doing it this way so that you can see what I'm doing. And then I just tear up along that edge down to about the edge of the ruler. Because if I go past the ruler, my line is going to get off. So now I'm going to flip this paper over the other, or this square over the other way, like this. Line it up against the edge again, and scooch it in a little bit. Line it up against the edge. I will line it up against this edge of my cut as well. There. Got dust from my rug. And then now I can cut it this way. I didn't even need scissors, actually. There. So now I've got my piece of paper. I can put my roll aside. Keep your roll together. You can use tape, which I don't really recommend. Maybe some washi tape because it's not as sticky, but it might give way over time. I use rubber bands, or string is good. You can use that as well. But I'm just going to set it aside for now. And if you use rubber bands, use something that is a little bit thicker so that you don't end up with tears on the edges of the paper, because that's a bummer. Now, I'm going to grab my water bottle. And now that I have my water bottle here, I'm going to go ahead and lay my paper out right side out, because it's rolled up the opposite way, and I want it to dry flat. So what I'm going to do is flip it over this way, right side out, and I'm just going to weight down my edges temporarily. You're not going to need a lot of weight or for a long period of time. Sorry, this isn't the most ladylike thing. I do want it straight so that it's on the carpet. There we go. There. Now that I've got it laid out, I'm going to get it as flat as I can. Of course, you need clean hands to start. You don't want any lotions or anything on your hands. Oh, I creased my paper, darn it. Wonder how I did that. Okay, hopefully I can get rid of the crease with water. Now I'm just going to spray it down. That's all you do. Spray it down real good, just like you're going to do a wet into wet painting. I'm going to put extra on my crease here. And if you want, you can even get a paintbrush to spread your water around. You want to get right out to the edge of the paper. Just put the edge of your book on there. Within a minute, it's going to start to flatten out. if this paper cover is going to bleed, so I'm going to put this on there. And this side. There. I like to get the edges real good because they seem to have more of a roll in them. And then we're just going to go ahead and let this dry. It'll take about 10 minutes or to get almost dry even. It doesn't have to be fully dry because when it's still a little damp, it's easier to cut. I'm just going to grab a wide hockey brush and smooth this water around. My brush was dry. I don't care about that, as long as my paper is wet enough. If you have any dust or debris on your paper, don't worry about it. If you've got a nice big table you can work on, hey, more power to you. I just don't have that here. See, the paper's already flattening out. Looks like I didn't wet this edge. I need my water bottle again. Uh-oh, is there something on my brush? No. Okay. There we go. Want that crease gone. If there's a little crease in it, I'm not going to worry. Trying to get rid of this crease. I can always just put it on water on the back of my paper as well. So let's give that about 10 minutes and we will meet back. Okay, now my paper's dry. It's been about 10 minutes. And I'm just going to go ahead and take the books off. And one thing I did that I'm bummed I did was that I left my ruler on upside down. And there was ink on the edge of my ruler, so it got on the edge of this paper. But for a 6x9 sheet, I'll just use that as, oops, I'm going to need that. I'll just use it as a scrap piece of paper or something like that, you know? No big thing. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my square again, as well as my pencil, and I'm going to start my measurements. Now, to do the measurements, I'm going to start with my 9-inch sheets first, and, excuse me, I'll go ahead and put some edges on my paper here. Oops, hang on, no, I did that on the wrong side of the paper. Flip your paper over to the wrong side of the paper, and then put your markings on. 9, 18, 1, 9, 18. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead with my square again, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it this way, I think, the shorter side. Line my paper edge up and my little marking to make sure I've got a straight edge. And this should be easier, even easier to cut now because the paper is still slightly damp, so it's going to cut even smoother than before. See how smooth that cut? I don't want to go too much further than that because I want to make sure I don't cut into the edge of the paper and end up with my measurements off on the other end. Okay. And I like to cut down from the top again because otherwise I end up with too deep a deckled edge on that. And I don't like that. So there. So that one's done. 6, 12, 18. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and cut these across too. Okay, so now I've got the 6x9 sheets that I cut yesterday and today. That brings me up to, I think, 32. No, 30, 24 and 6. So I think I have 30 here. 30 sheets will last me quite a while. And I like having the deckled edge on them. Most of them will have a deckled edge. Every now and then you're going to come up to an end sheet like this, and your edge will not be deckled. You'll have one side that's not deckled, but who cares? If you want it deckled, you can cut up a little slice off of it. But then I also decided to leave some 9x18 sheets so that I can do some interesting shaped paintings. I could do more of a panoramic type of a landscape with these or something, or cityscape. So I decided to leave a few of them like this. They're not quite dry all the way, so I want to make sure that I lay them flat and they don't end up getting warped. But they're almost dry, so that's okay. But that's pretty much it. It is just such a simple procedure. As you can see, getting these rolls of paper are nice and convenient because you can always cut the size of paper that you desire to have. It's not a big thing. So I think the paper rolls are about $54 on Amazon. They do sell 3 types. I think there's a hot press one as well if you prefer hot press paper. I'm just not a hot press person. I'll use it when I need to, and that's about it. But I prefer cold press or rough. And they also sell 90-pound paper and 140-pound paper. So if you get the 90-pound paper, just beware. It's going to be much thinner. It's more like, it's thicker than drawing paper. I think drawing paper is 70 pounds. So it's a little bit thicker. Sometimes those are good to have if you want a nice thick sketchbook with lots and lots of pages. And then you may only want to paint on one side, but you're going to get more warping, so you'll have to be careful with that. But if you do more dry media work, then the 90-pound would be the way to go. It would be nice, sturdy drawing paper. But I like the 140 pounds, so that's what I purchase. And if I make books with it, I will do that in 140 pound as well. I do have a couple sketchbooks that I think, like Moleskine is 120 pound paper, or maybe it's 130, but I believe it's 120. There's another one I got that was a little bit on the lighter side, and I thought, oh, shoot. But I prefer 140 pound. And I still have a ton of Pentalic books back from when I was affiliated with them. So I'll be using those up as well. But that's pretty much it, you guys. So remember, be courageous, paint with wild abandon, and most of all, be kind to each other. Take care, everyone. God bless you. Bye-bye.